2 days ago, Governor Steve Bullock became the 22nd Democrat to become a presidential candidate for 2020. And for the rest of the week, Governor Bullock will be campaigning in Iowa, the site of the first presidential nominating caucus in the country next February. MTM chief political reporter Mike Dennison is there as well.
This is Mike Dennison reporting from Des Moines, Iowa. That's the state capitol you see behind me. Governor Steve Bullock will be here on Thursday for the first stop in his first campaign trip for the presidency. On Thursday night, his first event will be at a brewery here in Des Moines. After that, he's going to spend 2 days going to 7 smaller cities and towns across eastern Iowa, meeting with voters in all of these towns. These are the voters that are going to decide the first presidential caucus in the country next February. We'll be covering some of those events. We'll be talking to some voters. We'll also see what sort of impression the governor's making on some of these voters. We'll also be reporting on the political landscape here in Iowa that all presidential candidates must navigate if they hope to be successful. Reporting from Des Moines, Iowa, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
And we will have full coverage later today and tonight on Governor Bullock's first foray in Iowa as a presidential candidate. Governor Bullock's campaign announced he raised $1 million in the first 24 hours of his race. That money coming from all 50 states. According to CNN, Joe Biden raised $6.3 million and Bernie Sanders raised $5.9 million following each of their campaign launches. Trade tensions between the U.S. and East Asian countries could soon impact Montana builders and buyers. The new tariffs will likely have an effect on home construction. The Southwest Montana Building Industry Association says it expects anything imported by China, including most appliances, things like nails and hardware and other odds and ends, will also see a substantial hike. The tariffs are already forcing contractors across the country to add in escalation clauses for projects set to start in 2020. It's unknown how high prices might go, so experts say Montana contractors need to be ready.
We just saw a fairly substantial increase in city impact fees to the tune of $2,500 or $3,000 a house for a 2,000 square foot starter home. You know, it might be in that same ballpark. We're looking at similar increases in Belgrade, and so we all just have to accommodate those.
Many of the nation's farmers are also taking a hit as a result of the trade tariffs. Montana Senator John Tester, the only active farmer in the Senate, says farmers are getting hammered right now by low prices for their crops.
Family farm agriculture is in trouble. The farm gate prices are terrible. The bankers will tell you that we've got a serious disaster on the horizon. And quite frankly, some of these farms have been in the family for generations. And this is a man-made problem. And in a state like Montana, where we need those export markets, both domestically and foreign, to be able to get prices at the farm, this has just been a killer.
Lawmakers are now considering a package of fresh bailout funds for farmers, something the Democratic senator called a form of socialism that most farmers do not want. A Bridger man who lost his life when his kitchen went up in smoke and flames Monday has been identified. Carbon County Sheriff Josh McQuillan says 67-year-old David Dyer was found unresponsive inside his home just minutes after he called 911 to report the fire. The initial investigation indicates the kitchen fire was accidental. The number of confirmed whooping cough cases in the Missoula area is now at a staggering 107. The duration of the outbreak means it's possible for people exposed earlier to be re-exposed. Confirmed whooping cough cases are being reported in infants all the way to the elderly. It's now spread to 20 schools, including in the Florence and Frenchtown schools. Well, it's an issue facing the state of Montana and the country as a whole, missing and murdered Indigenous women. And that is one of the topics of the conversation at the Montana Native Women's Coalition Conference happening this week in Billings. Folks from all over the area, including victims advocates, law enforcement, teachers, medical providers, and members of the community are taking part in the 2-day conference, speaking about issues like human trafficking, domestic violence, trauma-informed care, and the growing problem of missing and murdered Indigenous people.
There's been a lot of publicity, growing publicity and awareness, I think, with the public that involves issues around murdered and missing Indigenous people, women, men, girls and boys. And that is a very, very important thing for the public to know. So our conference is dedicated to them this year, and tomorrow, Thursday, we're going to have a number of presentations that are related to that issue.
Anyone from the community is welcome to attend the final day of the conference today at the Red Lion Hotel. It is free to the public. You just have to show up and register at the door. We're learning more about a Billings solar farm slated to start powering Montana in 2021. As Q2's Andrea Lutz reports, the developer says the 20-megawatt project could power as many as 4,900 homes, but he's got his sights set on more.
Standing out here on unoccupied land, Mark Klein's vision is in sight.
We'll be situated about 100 yards kind of northwest of where we're standing. It will use about 150 acres of land.
The Meadowlark project, named appropriately for the area, set to take shape here in just a matter of years.
The solar array itself will be somewhat tilted south. The amount of glare will be very little.
His decision to bring solar to Yellowstone County was easy.
While it's much further north than, say, a solar facility in California or Arizona, the production of energy in this area is still quite good.
With easy access to transmission, he also says Billings is
very friendly in terms of bringing in new technology, the creation of jobs.
Currently, he's working to develop 13 other properties in several states. And if all goes according to plan, another 300-megawatt solar farm in Broadview could be Montana's largest.
From concept or idea to actual construction, that typically takes 2 to 4 years.
As the future of energy in Montana remains unknown, Klein says solar, to him, is a wise option.
Whether it's coal or whether it's natural gas or whether it's renewable. And my belief is that creating competition and having all sorts of generation, it lowers the wholesale prices of electricity in this country, and it makes our industry much more competitive.
In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
Andrea also tells us the project will go online in October of 2021, bringing in $18 million, $7 million of which will go directly into the Billings and Yellowstone County community in workforce and materials. Never be afraid to be great. That's the advice to last night's graduates of the Billings Adult Education Program. Superintendent Greg Upham told the graduates they will need to decide if fear will drive them away or if they're going to take a shot at an opportunity. More than 250 graduated, with about 90 going through the ceremony. Each graduate has overcome a challenge, and adult education has been an important part of their lives.
It was exciting. Yeah, it's definitely an accomplishment. I don't know if sometimes I'm even aware of what a big deal it was, but it definitely was a big deal. I'm in recovery from drug and alcohol addiction, and this was one of the first things I wanted to do when I got sober.
I've gone through many different GED programs, and I just stayed consistent, and even though I felt like a failure, I just kept coming. Really wanted to make my wife proud. I learned a lot skateboarding. Fall hard, get back up, do it again, and just to apply it to education, and now I got my GED.
Seth Yazzie has plans to go into business with his wife, while Sherelle Garding works at the Rimrock Foundation. Special Olympics Montana 2019 Summer Games officially kicked off in Great Falls with an opening ceremony on Wednesday. Athletes and supporters also danced to live music, watched acrobats, and of course witnessed the final leg of the torch run. Law enforcement officers formed the Circle of Hope as the Flame of Hope was carried into the field house and used to ignite the cauldron. The state summer games continue through Friday. A black bear was hunted near Laurel after being spotted in a tree. Yellowstone County Sheriff's deputies responded to a report of the bear around 7 o'clock Wednesday morning near the Pheasant Brook subdivision. A Fish, Wildlife and Parks game warden came out and determined it was a black bear and could be left alone. Later, a hunter with a permit harvested the bear. The bear is estimated to have been around 3 years old and around 100 to 120 pounds.
The hunting season for black bears is open right now. It opened April 15th and it doesn't close until the end of the month. And in that area, there isn't a quota for bears or anything, so it was perfectly legal for somebody to go hunt that bear.
Gibson also says at this time of year it's important to not leave things out that may attract bears. He suggests not putting garbage out until the day it's going to be picked up, not leaving barbecues out after cooking, and not leaving pet food close to the home. Keep your pets on a leash. That's one of the rules at Yellowstone National Park, and this video proves the importance of that rule. A weekend visitor witnessed this interaction between a very small dog and some very large bison. The dog is running around, barking and agitating the animals. This video was taken between Grand Prismatic Spring and Norris Geyser Basin. At one point, one of the bison actually kicks at the dog and nearly misses. Yellowstone National Park officials said in a statement that because the dog was not on a leash, it caused a hazardous situation. Big game hunting season is long over, but there's still more treasure to find. MTN's Jason Laird takes us to Augusta, where shed hunting is drawing hundreds to this small town.
May 15th, a pretty big day for area outdoorsmen. It's the day that the Sun River Wildlife Management Area opens back up to the public. And right now it's a lot quieter than when they opened these gates.
People are here looking for elk antlers and not necessarily deer, but we'll have some deer antlers come out. We've had some moose antlers come out as well, but you know, the big draw is for elk antlers.
According to the Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks, they counted just under 300 vehicles and are estimating 750 people showed up to Wednesday's event.
Our early years, you know, this wasn't a big deal, and we were back in those days, May 15th starts at midnight, so we would come up here at midnight and let in 3 or 4 vehicles and off they'd go. And
it's like the second Easter egg hunt of the year, this time for all ages. Just west of Augusta, I'm Jason Laird, MTN News.
And on Monday morning, we'll have more on the shed hunting season with the Montana Ag Network. Stick with us here on Montana This Morning. Still ahead, missing since Monday. Kentucky crews finally find a missing toddler, and they're calling it a miracle. It's 51 degrees in downtown Billings, and the time is now 6:13. Stay with us.
You're watching MTN News with Victoria Hill and Storm Tracker weather with Ed McIntosh. This is Montana This Morning on Q2, Montana's news leader.